is a special exercise that is dedicated to spheres. So we are going to do both surface area and volume of spheres. Now, both of these formulas are on that formula sheet that you are going to be given. Okay, however, it is still good if you can learn them. And there is a little bit of a pattern that helps me memorize them, okay? So first of all, surface area. The word area tells you that it's centimetres squared. That's what happens in my head. I go area, centimetres squared. And that reminds me that the R needs to be squared. Okay? Both of the formulas have a 4. Okay? So it's 4 pi r squared. That's all it is for the surface area of a sphere. The volume, when you do volumes are cubed. They're centimetres cubed. Okay? So that, you 10. Shh. No one should be talking. Shh. That reminds me that the R should be cubed. Now, 3s like to work in pairs. So when there is a 3 here, there is also a 3 on the bottom of that 4. Remember I said both fractions, both formulas have a 4, but the volume one is 4 over 3 to match the 3 in the power. Little tricks to help you memorize formulas, but you will be given those ones, okay? Yes. Question 1. We need to stop the chatter though, please. Quietly listening. Find the surface area and volume of that sphere, okay, with a radius of 23 centimetres to 2 decimal places. So starting with surface area, we write the formula down first. Surface area equals, from that table above, 4 pi r squared. There are still people talking. Thank you. All I need to do, the radius is the only measurement that you ever need for a sphere. So all I need to do is substitute in that the r is 23. So it is 4 pi times 23 squared. And then you just type it in your calculator. 4 pi times 23 squared. So we need 2 decimal places. So that means, you can see it there on my calculator, 6647.61. Don't forget that this is an area, so that will be centimetres squared. Okay, it's the same diagram, but we now want to do volume. So we write down the volume formula. V equals, now the volume is the one with the 3's. So it's 4 over 3 pi r cubed. Okay, and all we have to do again is substitute in that radius is 23. 4 over 3 pi times 23 cubed. Okay, type that in and you can check it. You should get 50,965.01. Volume means centimetres cubed. Okay, so that is your basic question where it's just one sphere, but next page, obviously it's going to get a little bit more complicated than that. Year 10, please no talking while we're going through the examples. Okay? Question 2. Find the radius of a sphere that has a volume of 18 centimetres cubed, corrected 2 decimal places. That is the V. That is the volume. Okay, so this is going to be a question where we're going backwards to find the radius. Start by writing out the formula for volume, because it's talking about volume. So that is V equals 4 over 3 pi r cubed. All right, substitute in what we know. We know that the V is 18. So 18 equals 4 over 3 pi r cubed. Now the point of this question is that we want to find out what the r is. So everything that I do now is to try and get that r by itself. I'm moving everything away from the r. So you could do one number at a time. You could times by the 3 and then divide by the 4. Or if you want less steps, you could do it in one move. You could go divided by 4 over 3. Divide that whole fraction away. Divide the 4 over 3 away. Okay? That will give you a decimal, but 13.5 equals, I still have pi r cubed on the right-hand side. Pi is just a number, okay? Don't be scared of it. You can move it just like a number, okay? So I can divide both sides by pi to get that away from the r. Now, I'm not going to put that one in my calculator yet because that will be a very big decimal. Anything involving pi is going to be a irrational number that we're going to have to round. We don't want to have to round yet. We want to round the final answer, okay? So let's just rewrite that as, I'm going to put the r on the left, r cubed equals 13.5 over pi. Okay, I'm just leaving the pi in there for now. To get rid of a cubed, it's very similar to getting rid of a squared. If I want to get rid of a squared, I take a square root. So to get rid of a cubed, I take a cubed root. Okay, so a cubed root looks like this big cubed root sign, and that is then I'm going to cross it off on the other side. I'm getting rid of that cubed. Okay, and then you just have to type that in. You can go to decimals now because this is the final answer. So you just type that whole thing in your calculator. I'll do it up here for you as well. So big cubed root sign, start with the outside part, cubed root, 13.5 on the top, and the pi on the bottom. Okay, and check back to the question. It wanted 2 decimal places, so that's going to be the 5, 2, but I have to round up. So, sorry, not 5, 6, 3. So we go 1.63. The radius, it's not an area, it's not a volume, that's a length. It's just normal centimeters for the radius length, okay? One more. Surface area question. I want to find, actually surface area and volume. I want to find the surface area and volume of that shape, which is a combination of a cone and half of a sphere, which we call a hemisphere, right? So let's start with the surface area. Let's adjust our formulas. Surface area. That half of a sphere means I put a half in front of my formula for the surface area of a sphere, which was 4 pi r squared. Then I want to add to that the surface area of my cone. However, remember, I'll write it over here on the side. The surface area of a cone is pi r squared plus pi r s. Okay? Remember, there is 2 parts to that formula. The pi r squared is the circle. My circle is covered. I don't want that. Okay, my end of my cone is covered. So leave off the pi r squared. I am just going to want the body of my cone, the curved part, which is the pi r s. Pi r s. Does that make sense? No. When you join 2 shapes together, if 2 of the sides are touching, that's not the outside surface. We no longer want to include that circle in there because it's been joined on the top by that hemisphere. Okay? So in the pi r squared that I rubbed off here, the surface area of a cone is pi r squared plus pi r s. I don't want the pi r squared, which is the circle that's been covered on the top there. Okay, so I'm just leaving that off. I'm just leaving that off in the formula. All right, let's sub in. We know that the radius is here. It's the 8. And it's the same radius for the hemisphere as it is for the cone. Okay, isn't it? The slant height is the 13. Okay, make sure it is the sloping, S for sloping, it is the sloping height. Okay, so we can just sub those straight in. Half 4 pi times by, the radius is 8 squared. Then the second one, pi r is 8 again, and the slant height is 13. It's long, but just type it in your calculator from that point. Did anyone get the answer? Yeah?
What happens if you didn't put the brackets
As long as you put a times there, it's okay. As long as you go half times, yeah, that's fine. 8, 5 to 2 decimal places. So check in the question where to round, okay? It's area, so I also need centimetres squared. Okay, we're not finished because that question said I want surface area and volume. So I now have to come back and do the volume. Now the first thing that I hope you're thinking is that when you're doing cones, surface area uses the slant, which is what I had, but volume is going to want the perpendicular height. I am going to have to find that height there to find the volume of that cone, which means I need to do a Pythagoras Theorem. Okay? Okay. So Pythagoras Theorem, to find the h, again, that's not the hypotenuse though. That is the height of, but not the hypotenuse. I'm actually finding a shorter side. Haley?
Are all questions going to be like this in the test?
No. I'll talk more about that in a minute. So, to find the shorter side, we do the hypotenuse squared minus the shorter side squared, which is the 8. Now, like I've been saying the whole way through this topic, we want to save our rounding for the end. So if we can leave that in exact form for now, that's better. So just working out the 13 squared minus 8 squared, you get 105. So the square root of 105 is exact. A couple of you I know aren't really comfortable. You're like, I don't like these exact things. If you feel like you have to go to the decimal, it is okay. You could go, that actually equals, I've got it written down here, it equals 10.24. But if you feel like you have to go to the decimal, try to keep quite a few of the decimal places so that when you sub that in to your next formula, you're not going to get what I call rounding errors at the end. If you rounded that to one decimal place, if you put in 10.2, you're going to get a slightly different answer to the person who puts the exact measurement in. Okay? So keep a few decimal places and we won't have that problem.
How do you find the exact number?
So all I did was I ignored the square root sign and I just went, let's just work out what's underneath. I went 13 squared minus the 8 squared. And I'm just working out the numbers underneath. Okay, that's all I'm doing. All right? So now I can finish. I can find the volume. Finding the volume of that shape. Again, I have half of a sphere, but it's the volume formula that I want now. So I'm going to have half. The volume formula has the 3's in it. 4 over 3 pi r cubed. I also need the volume of a cylinder. Does anyone remember that one? No, that's a cylinder. Did I say cylinder? I'm sorry. Cone. It's a cone. You are right. That is a cylinder. I have a cone, however. What is the formula for the volume of a cone?
1 over 3AH?
Yes. 1 over 3AH. Where the A is a circle. So can I change the A to be a pi r squared? Yes, I can, because it's a circle. So subbing in...
Well, I don't get it.
What?
What did you just do for the last?
Oh, because the formula on your sheet for any, we did this yesterday, for any pyramid or cone, the formula is always V equals a third AH.
So the area is...
But the area is the pi r squared because it's a circle. So I've just put my pi r squared straight in there. Okay? All right, subbing in. R is 8. So half bracket 4 over 3 pi times 8 cubed. Please make sure that you don't change your cubes into squares. It's a common mistake. You're doing volume. They are 3s. It's a power of 3. Plus a third pi, r is still 8. That one is squared because that's a circle, pi r squared. And the height, the perpendicular height, was the square root of 105. That was the one I worked out with Pythagoras' theorem. You can type all of that in. Try it, preferably without talking.
Is it meant to be a big number?
Yeah, it is a big number. What did you get?
1,149.
Ooh. That's not what I got. Anyone else type that in? You did get the same as me? 1759.09. It's volume, so it's centimeters cubed. That's rounded to 2 decimal places as asked for in the question. You got one.
I don't know what I've done.
So you found the mistake. Cool.